and Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to all of you to this gathering. Give me a second. Yeah, no, I think that we're okay. Well, today, no, I'm not solo. JC is going to join us as soon as possible. He's just arriving. And welcome to this session today that we are going to read YaHuWaH. We are going to study the chapter 46 and 47, and we have titled this in this opportunity, Sword of YaHuWaH. And we are so happy to see all your names and seeing that most of you are located in the United States, some of you may be in Canada, some of you may be in Europe, and we are in the South. And it's so beautiful how YaHuWaH has made everything, that he has put us in different places, maybe in this way that he created for us. Well, if I have to compare, it's like our life. And I was thinking about when he says, Yahushua was saying at one moment that if we want to enter to the kingdom, we have to have our hearts like children, like a little child. And I was thinking that how is the relationship between us, like children, with our parent, how it was when we were little children. And I always remember it was a kind of a poem that maybe you also have read it before, and it's like the reflection of the prodigal son somehow. Because when we were little, we were admiring and trusting completely, 100% our hearts to our parents. And they were teaching everything that they could, and they were always providing everything. And when we were with them, they were everything that we want to become. But at one point in our life, when we were growing and having, entering into this difficult time of being a youth, then we realized and we started to look to some other places, and then our eyes were not set on our parents anymore all of the time. So we were maybe seeing something how they were being done in some other places, maybe in some other families, maybe some friends. They wanted to be like our friends. And it's an incredible parallel with the scripture, with Israel, with everything. And then when we were maybe far away from our parents, we were dedicated time to the work, to our friends, to our life, studies, everything. Then at one moment we realized that we have an empty place here, that we are missing something. But at one point we realize, and when we start living the same experiences that our parents were living before, that they were so wise and they wanted to...
Sorry, I got your
No, it's okay.
I got your inspiration. Shabbat Shalom.
I'm so sensitive.
Please continue.
That we had that communication maybe at one point with them, but they always were there for us. And they are always there for us. It's the same with Allah. He's just waiting for us until the day that we realize all the love that he was providing. Everything that he is doing is because of us. It's because he loves us. And sometimes we are looking to some other places. And when we are reach that point again, that we are going to become again and realizing and tell our parents how grateful we are because all their love. And maybe you are struggling with your own children. Maybe those of you who has children, and you are realizing that you want to give them advice, and sometimes they don't listen, or they are choosing different paths. But at one point, they are going to remember all the words, everything that you have done for them. And they're going to realize and see that true love. And as the scripture said, if we have parents that always wanted to give us the good food, the good things in our lives, how much more is the love of our Father that is perfect? I was thinking about that, and I wanted to share that. Sorry.
You were talking about children.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me about it.
and that's why I was.
You were sharing.
No, nothing,
You were
nothing.
no, you were
nothing.
thinking on that.
I
Somehow.
was thinking
Okay,
somehow
good.
on that. Yeah.
You want some water?
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a difficult one. I think many of us were experiencing, especially when we are getting children growing up, and we are remembering ourselves back then.
Because we were doing the same.
We were doing the same, exactly. But it's good crying. I was thinking that you were crying because you were alone beginning this study, but you were crying because of something insightful, something beautiful.
Yeah.
But this is so important. So I really hope that all of you are doing well, having a fantastic Shabbat. Sorry to be late, but I was taking care of my boy. I had to.
But one
to
day
take care
he's
of you.
going to know.
No, for sure, but everything is good. So, YaHuWaH is doing something. When we are between 13 and 15 years old, is a difficult age. So we need to take different measures in order to make sure that children are following in the right path and not being deviating or going astray from the path that we are trying to teach them. So I'm in that process somehow. But, this week was a very difficult week, spiritually speaking, because of that thing and many other things. But YaHuWaH is so good, is that he's always opening doors. He's always doing beautiful things. Even though that we go through difficulties, he's always showing us sometimes in small examples, and other times in big things, how his hand is all over upon us and helping us all the time what we have to do, and even himself doing what is good for us.
Yeah.
So, I think I really hope that you haven't checked the video I posted this morning. I think it's an important message. I was meditating. If not, go ahead and take a look after this stream. I think it's something that we need to keep an eye, as I was saying in the video. Something I didn't mention, and I would like to take the opportunity to clarify it now. I mentioned it, but it was somehow not straightforward. Is that our position as believers is not to judge if things or the decisions or what's happening is good or bad. Sometimes we have to do it, but when we talk about prophecy, we should not take the position about judging a person or judging a decision or judging something that is good or bad. What I was talking in the video about the measures that are being taken in the United States. It could be good measures. It could be a good decision because of what has been in development throughout decades. And then nobody has been having the guts to say so.
Bold enough.
And to be bold enough in order to take the measures that is being taken now. So we should not judge if the measures are good or evil. We just needs to be outside that box and looking with the spiritual eyes to understand what's happening. And I was mentioning in the video, is just to listening. And because when we are in that position, not judging, just listening and seeing, we are going to be able to see with the eyes of the Spirit and to understand how this is totally connecting to to the prophecy and to understand what the times we are living. And YaHuWaH is so good that, and now you're smiling.
Yeah.
Good. YaHuWaH is so good is that, I was going to pick my son to the place he was staying. And while driving, I was meditating in all of these things, and also meditating in some things that Lilian and myself were studying about the manifestation of the Ruach of Elohim, in miracles, in sanidades, ¿cómo dice sanidad?
Healing.
In healings, thank you, in my English. In healing, and so many things that are so important in today's world in order to show the power of the Ruach of Elohim, and also through those miracles and signs, sometimes it's much easier for people to understand who Elohim really is, and to deliver the true and the complete message. And while meditating this on the way, a big truck was in front of me, and with the license plate, draw in the back of the truck, and I don't know, I was fixing my eyes in the license plate. It was a big one. It's a big sign. It was like talking to me, and I couldn't avoid it looking at it, and I had to do what Lilian always do, is take a look in the license plate, and it was like it was talking to me. And the letters was J, N, and the numbers, because it was only 2 letters, and the number. So remember, it's J and N, and the numbers were 1678.
It could be YaHuWaH.
And actually, I receiving inside me this is John 16, 7 and 8, and I want to show it to you. Okay.
I like when to do that.
YaHuWaH sometimes speaking so weird ways.
Yeah.
And John 16, 7 and 8 says the following: "But I say the truth to you, it is better for you that I go away." This is Mashiach speaking. "For if I do not go away, the helper shall not come to you at all. But if I go, I shall send him to you. And having come, he shall convict the world concerning sin, and concerning righteousness, and concerning judgment."
We were talking about this last night with your dad.
Yeah, exactly.
With your mom.
So when I saw this, I began meditating again, because the message was so direct.
Yeah.
And one thing that it's important that we have to remember, and more than remember this, is to realize, is that we are in the middle of a huge spiritual battle. And there are, evil spirits, evil forces, dark forces on the air that are driving so many things and so many manifestations, and attacking the mind of all the world, including us. And that's why we need to be so ready and prepared, and be so attentive, and we need to discern all the time with the Spirit of Elohim about everything we hear, everything we read, everything we see, to understand and to recognize the voice of YaHuWaH, and not to be deceived of what's going on. One of the things that has been happening, and I think this is going on in a strong spiritual deception, and I'm just going to mention very quickly, and I'm not going to expand on this, but just to tell you the second part of the story, because this is not the end. Is that back on October 2023, in the last prophecy update I was sharing here in this channel, I was sharing with you about a man that suddenly appeared wearing a black hat and speaking so many things. If you go back to that video, you will understand what I'm talking about. And recently, he announced himself as the new Pope. And everybody's talking about that. And, I think they're giving him the podium in order to increase some views and people to know about him. But again, since we don't need to look with our eyes and we need to go outside the box and to look with the spiritual eyes, maybe this needs to happen. Maybe, and as I have been feeling since then, I think this is a person that we need to take a look, to monitor and to track, because it could be a prophetic figure as well. So after seeing the plate, and that's why I mentioned this, because after seeing the plate, I was thinking and meditating and continue praying and praying a lot while driving, asking YaHuWaH to protect us, to give us His strength, to strengthen our faith, to teach us how to operate completely, fully operate in the true Ruach of Elohim, in order to be ready for any deception that's happening in the world, and actually deception that is going to continue increasing and increasing and increasing. And if we are not prepared at all, spiritually speaking, with the truth and with the spirit of truth, it's going to be very difficult to keep up standing in the rock.
It says that many are going to be deceived by
Correct.
that.
So I continue praying in that direction, and when I was driving back, I don't know what happened again. I was focusing just, I don't know, a few miles before coming here. Focusing my eyes in the few plates, license plates. And, they were beginning with, was in this case 4 letters and two numbers. And there was nothing but in the first 2 letters. And then I focused in the last 2, and in the numbers, I had to go to the scripture when I had the chance and take a look again. And the letter were the P and J, and then the numbers 4 and 7. What do you think? Immediately I felt something inside me.
Peter, but
And?
J. James.
Okay. And the numbers? 4 and 7.
4 and 7.
So let me show you. So the first one I take a look, it was in James.
So
and I told you the whole story just for you to see how YaHuWaH is speaking to us and how good He is. So I was praying in this direction to receive direction, how to fight this battle, how to receive the true Ruach of Elohim, to be guided on all of this. So that was the whole context. So I went to James chapter 4, verse 7, and it says the following. So then subject yourself to Elohim, resist the devil, and he shall flee from you. So this is a direct message too. The devil is being presenting himself now so mightily through the evil forces that we need to resist the devil. And how we do that? With the true spirit of Elohim and with the mighty name of Yahushua the Messiah. That's the way we have to fight back, because we are the people of Elohim and we have the Ruach of Elohim in our side. We have the true Elohim in our side. We have nothing, absolutely nothing to fear. And what the First Peter says, chapter 4, verse 7, but the end of all has drawn near. Therefore, be sober-minded and be attentive in the prayers. So for me, it was a direct message, 2 license plates, 3 passages in the scripture. The Ruach is with us. Yahushua sent us the gift. We need to resist the devil. The end is already here. We need to be sober-minded. We need to be in prayers all the time, seeking the Ruach of Elohim, seeking the truth and seeking the guidance directly that is coming from above.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like the hotline.
Yeah.
The direct connection, just to receive the message from YaHuWaH.
He's
Elohim.
going to find a way to teach us, to give us a strength, and to give us always His hand.
Yes. And again, let's realize, let's see with the spiritual eyes about this huge spiritual battle that is going on. Let's not get into the emotional part or the physical part of us here in this world. We need to look at things from outside with the spiritual eyes, with the spirit of Elohim, and because many things are going on. You know, I have a few messages that I'm being preparing, somehow connected to everything that I have been saying, and that's the beautiful things that somehow YaHuWaH, with this weird type of communication he sometimes uses, is confirming so many things. And as I said in the prophecy update, we are that last generation, and we need to prepare ourselves. You know, sometimes I've struggled when I'm thinking on that, because I struggle with what? We should be already ready. Instead of preparing ourselves, we should be ready with the full armor and with all the techniques in order to fully operate in the Ruach of Elohim and in truth. But
we're still missing.
We're still missing something. So we need to be truthful to us and to him, is that we are not fully prepared. But in the same way that David was not fully prepared, maybe physically speaking, to face the giant Goliath, he faced him with the spirit of Elohim that was inside of him. And we can think that maybe we are not ready, but we don't need to be ready. The one that is inside of us is ready, and that one is YaHuWaH, living through us through his Ruach, because he sent the Ruach. And if we allow him, as Shaul was speaking and writing about, and if we allow YaHuWaH to live through us, it doesn't matter if we are not fully ready. It's just to allow him to do everything.
What he's going to do.
And use us as his servants. Okay, I guess you already mentioned what we're going to study, right?
Sword of YaHuWaH.
Sword of YaHuWaH.
That's the title.
Somehow it's connected to everything I have said. Okay, so let's move on. Let me put this song with you. No, not today. So here we go.
Okay.
גולל עליך את דרכי, אתן לך לשאת את עולי, אבחר לפתוח בך אדוני, ואתה תעשה כן אתה תעשה אתה תעשה כי הבטחת שמך אתה הבטחת תמיד יצרוני חסדך ועמיתך שומר הברית והחסד אתה מעולם עד עולם מעולם עד עולם אתה תעשה כי הבטחת כי הבטחת שמך אמיתי ונאמן אתה הבטחת כן הבטחת אתה תעשה אתה תעשה אתה
Let's pray. YaHuWaH, Elohim Sebaot, we want to give thanks to you in this new Shabbat for your love, your compassion toward us. Thank you, Abba, because you are always making a way, a path for us to continue walking in your way, guiding our steps, YaHuWaH, in so many ways. Thank you because you are always opening a door for us, because you are always extending your hand and protecting us and providing to our needs. Thank you, YaHuWaH, because you are providing not only to our physical needs, also, and most importantly, you are providing to our spiritual ones. Thank you, YaHuWaH, because we can be here once again with the intention of our hearts to study your word, because you are giving us the means through this platform to have this gathering where we spend this time together in Shabbat with the intention of seeking your face and understanding and seeking your truth. We thank you, YaHuWaH, because you have guided us so far until here, and you have taught us so many things. Thank you, YaHuWaH, because it's in your wisdom and in your truth and in your faithfulness that we can continue walking in your ways. It's in your faithfulness, O YaHuWaH, that we can be together here, receiving everything you want to show us, and so how you have been preparing us for the time like this. And it's not only recently, it's just a matter to see our entire life. You've been with us since we were born, and even before, in our mother's womb. It was in the purpose of your heart to give us life in this generation, YaHuWaH. And we want to be ready for that calling. And we thank you, YaHuWaH, because you have been doing a marvelous work in each one of us through our entire lives. And even though sometimes we believe we are not ready, you have made ourselves ready for this time. And we want to open our hearts to you, YaHuWaH, about to give us everything you have prepared for us in this time. You were the one who opened our eyes to your truth. And the only reason we are here, studying your word and walking in righteousness, in your righteousness, in the righteousness of your kingdom, the only reason we are here following the steps of Yahushua, your Messiah, our King, is because of you. And because of that, we want to tell you, YaHuWaH, that we love you with all our hearts. And we thank you because you took us out of darkness and out of the world. And you have brought us into your light. Thank you for reminding me the words of your son, Yahushua, when he was praying for his disciples. But as he said at the end, he was not praying for the 12 only, he was praying for each one of us. And when he said that you have taken us out of the world and you have given us to him as a gift, and we want to recognize that we belong to him because he is our Adonai. You have appointed him, Yahushua, as the Melech HaMelachim, the King of Kings. And we subject ourselves, O YaHuWaH, to you through him, our King, our Melech. And in this moment, O YaHuWaH, we want to ask you that you can guide us even more so we can fight the battle that we are there seeing happening in this world today with your sword and with the two edges of the sword, O YaHuWaH, that you can give us of your armor, the armor of Elohim, so we can stand firm before any attack of the devil. So in that way we can show that you are with us, but most importantly that we can show to the world that you are the only true Elohim, that you are everlasting, that you are the only true hope for humanity, that you have opened a door for anyone who wants to come to you to do it. And it's just a matter of a decision, O YaHuWaH, to surrender our lives and to cross that door that is Yahushua in order to get into your kingdom. Teach us, O YaHuWaH, what we are missing, so we can be a complete and full servant of yours, to serve you in the fullness of your truth and in the fullness of your spirit, to shine your light in this age and in this generation. O YaHuWaH, we want less of us and we want more of you. That's why we surrender our lives. And as we always do, YaHuWaH, we want to ask you to guide us in everything we are going to study today. Allow your Ruach to speak through us and to us, so we can see what we have never seen before, so we can be attentive to your voice in our spirit, to understand and receive your wisdom, so we are well prepared for the role and the service you have appointed each one of us in this generation. I pray for those that are going through some disease, that you can provide healing, YaHuWaH, because we trust in you. And we know that you are restoring health and vitality in our bodies. For those going through difficulties, that you can open a door so they can see a way out of their difficulties. That you can give us that heart for you, knowing that if we put our trust in you all the time, there's nothing to fear, because you are providing to all our needs. Thank you, Abba, for your presence, and we invite you to be in our hearts, so we can feel your presence within us and among us, no matter the distance, in the same way that we can feel your love in our hearts, that we can feel your presence surrounding us and covering us. And we know that you are with us because we can feel you. Thank you, YaHuWaH, for listening to our voices, and for your love and your compassion, and for your Ruach. Thank you, Abba. We pray to you in this moment. And we do it in the mighty name of your Son, YaHuShua, your Messiah, our King and Savior. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so let me put the scripture here. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu, chapter 46. And I think is your
Yeah,
turn.
I'm going to pray.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. The word of YaHuWaH which came to Yirmiyahu the prophet concerning the nations. For Mizraim, concerning the army of Pharaoh Necho, sovereign of Mizraim. And Necho means lame. Okay. Which was by the river Euphrates in Carchemish, and which Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, had stricken in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, son of Joshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda. We know that the river Euphrates means fruitful, and Carchemish means the fortress of Subtiur. And yeah, that's it. And because Nebuchadnezzar, we already knew about that meaning, and Babel also, that is confusion. Prepare the large and the small shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses and mount up, you horsemen, stand with helmets, polish the spear, put on the armor. Why do I see them afraid, turn back, and their fighters are beaten down? And they have fled in haste, and did not look back, for fear was all around, declares YaHuWaH. Do not let the swift flee away, nor the mighty men escape. They shall stumble and fall toward the north by the river Euphrates. Who is this rising like a flood, whose waters surge about like the rivers? Mizraim rises like a flood, and its water surge about like the rivers. And he said, let me rise and cover the earth. Let me destroy the city and its inhabitants. Do you want to make a stop?
No. You want to continue?
Okay. Go up, O horses, and rage, O chariots, and let the mighty men go forth. Cush and Put, who handle the shield, and Lud, who handle and bend the bow. Cush mean dark, Put mean bow, and Lud mean strife. Okay, so you can imagine that from dart, the bow, and the strife.
It's not a good side, actually.
No, that's why. For this is the day of the Master YaHuWaH of hosts, a day of vengeance, to revenge himself on his adversaries, and the sword shall devour, and be satisfied and made drunk with their blood. For the Master YaHuWaH of hosts has a slaughtering in the land of the north by the river Euphrates. Go up to Gilad and take balm, O maiden, the daughter of Mizraim. In vain you have used many remedies. There is no healing for you. Nations have heard of your shame, and your cry has filled the land. For the mighty has stumbled against the mighty. They have both fallen together.
I think we can stop here
Yeah.
because then
Then
it's
it's
coming with
something-
a new word. So
It's a prophecy against Mizraim.
yes, the first thing we can mention is that from now on, if I'm not mistaken, with the exception of the last chapter, that is the chapter 50, is talking about prophecies concerning the nations. So now he began speaking about the Mizraim. He's going to talk about the Philistines. I think we will see later on about Damascus. We'll see about Babylon. And I think when we reach there, it's going to be interesting to connect to the prophecy update as well. So I think these messages somehow, as we have been talking in the past, prophecies are being fulfilled more than once. And just to put a reminder, is exactly what we talk about the prophecy on the book of Daniel. Some of them happened in the past, but that doesn't mean that they are not going to happen again. Maybe in a different aspect, in a different scope, but we don't know. And Mashiach was speaking about that because he was referring to the prophecy of the abomination of desolation written in the book of Daniel when he was speaking about the end times. And we all know that studying history and reading the book of Maccabees, that the abomination of desolation already happened once with the Antiochus Epiphanes. So that was the first fulfillment. We can say that it happened a second time when the Romans were destroying the second temple because they put a statue of some idol over there. And actually they changed completely the city and the name of the city. But Mashiach was speaking that, at the end times and the latter days, once again, this prophecy is going to be fulfilled. So in this case, and that's a reinforcements from Yahushua that the prophecy could be fulfilled more than once. So in this case, it's speaking directly about Mizraim, and somehow this prophecy already happened. If we take a look in historical information, Mizraim was so strong, and actually Liliana and myself, we were reading a bit of the history earlier today, and this is being named as a big battle between Mizraim and Babylon. Back then, Mizraim was a global empire somehow, and they were having dominance over the known world at that time. Actually, they took some kind of dominance on the Assyria and the other places. And Babylon somehow was strengthening themselves. And during that battle, based on the information we were reading about, even Nebuchadnezzar was not the king yet. It was his father.
Yeah.
He was the son of the king. But he was appointed as the commander-in-chief in order to lead the armies of Babylon in that battle in Carchemish. Just for you to take a look, one of the good things that we have with technology now, and we need to always look into the bad and to the good and use the good and reject the bad, is that we have access to this information. So it's just a matter for us to understand and connect the information to see with as I said at the beginning, with the spiritual eyes, what is the prophecy all about. And it is written, it was a huge fight. And that's why when we take a look in the words that were given to Jeremiah about this battle is so descriptive
Yeah.
of what
It's
happened.
what happened. It was exactly the same.
Because Misraim that they were having, and they were the big empire with the global dominance, was defeated by Babylon, and they began to reduce their dominance. And actually, we will see in the next part of the chapter that this the dominance or the authority was being transferred from Misraim to Babylon. And somehow YaHuWaH was using Nebuchadnezzar as the sword and as the servant. And I think we were speaking about that in previous portions. In order to deliver this or to bring this punishment and this fulfillment to pass. And when we take a look here, it says, "Prepare the large and the small shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses and mount up your horsemen. Stand with helmets. Polish the spears. Put on the armor." And it's talking about being afraid, talking about fleeing away. "Nor the mighty men escape. They shall stumble. The mighty men shall stumble and fall toward the north by the river Euphrates. Again, who is rising like a flood, whose water surge about like the rivers, is Misraim. Let me rise, and Misraim, he's saying, let me rise and cover the earth. Let me destroy the city and its inhabitants. So it's like the intention to overcome. And it comes to mind what we have been reading about the white horse and the first seal. It says that he's coming with the bow in order to overcome. And even though that this already happened in the past, and again, fulfillment can happen multiple times, and we are not going to try to identify who is Mizraim in our times. It's clear that we are in the middle of a similar situation in our days. Empires or superpowers, governments, states, we call it differently in our days. They're fighting each other, and they're fighting for what?
For dominance.
For global dominance. So, yeah, global dominion. So somehow we know, and we will see in the coming chapters most probably, how YaHuWaH has portrayed this timeline of events that is going to happen. And I do believe that these situations are cyclical. And we were talking about that. I don't know why, but it is written that there's nothing new under the sun. What happened in the past is going to happen again. So, and I think we are living in a very similar situation or age when we see these powers fighting each other. And we can think, yeah, but throughout history, there has always been fights and so on. But when we talk about big empires, the situation is totally different. And just to take a look in what is written about what was going to happen with the superpowers and the different empires throughout history, when we are getting into the point that we are now, that everything is about to change. Similarly to what we are reading here, everybody was taking a look in Mizraim, but everything was going to change. Why? Because Babylon was going to take control and dominion over the entire world. What we're expecting now to happen is that the system of the beast and the final empire, even though that we don't see it, is in the shadows, it's already in control. It's just a matter for us to see what's happening in the world, to realize that everything is connected in the spiritual. And everything that we have been living throughout the last few years is connected to the dominion of the system of the beast. It's just a matter to appear in front of the public eye. And this is exactly what, in the same way that happened back then, is what we are experiencing in our days, in our age, in our generation. Is the appearance of this new superpower that is going to dominate the entire world. But we know that it's going to be
Only for a time.
I'm very short time. A very short time, depending on how you understand the Bible prophecy. Maybe it's going to be 7 years, or maybe it's going to be only at 3.5 years. So it's going to be short period. And you know what's funny, and we have never talked about this, is that usually most of governments, so-called democratic governments, the duration of a president
It's like 4 years.
is like 4 years. So somehow connected to the 3.5 could be. So I think we need to be so attentive and not to be among these ones, you know. If we are part of one group, let's connect to what we were studying last week. Part of the remnant of Yehuda,
They went to.
they were so
went to-
afraid that they went to Mizraim. Instead of keeping themselves aside and following the voice and the commandments and the instruction of YaHuWaH, they decided to go by their own understanding and to take side of one of those kingdoms or one of those empires. When YaHuWaH was completely giving a completely different commandment, we can say, but YaHuWaH sent the rest of the remnant to the other empire. But even though that he sent them to that place, in my view, first they were following his voice and his will. And second, if we read what happened with Daniel, even though that they were living in Babylon, they were separating themselves in order to follow YaHuWaH completely. And that should be our attitude. We should not take sides. We should always take a step back and again to feel and to flow according to the desire of YaHuWaH. That's the only way that we are not going to be able, we are not going to be contaminated and to be dragged into the things of the world instead of to keep ourselves into the things of the kingdom.
Like Yahushua was saying, we are in the world, but we are not part of that, of this world at least. And the way that we can keep ourselves not being in the world is how we live.
Correct.
If we are going to live according to the world's commandments or Yahuwah's commandments.
Now, one thing I have prepared a message that hopefully I will be able to deliver soon, and we didn't talk about this. We talk about the message, but we didn't connect it to the passage. When he's speaking about who is this rising like a flood, whose waters surge about like the rivers, Mizraim rises like a flood, and its waters surge about like the rivers. And he said, let me rise and cover the earth, and let me destroy the city and its inhabitants. What comes to your mind that we have been talking about?
I have my other appreciation.
Yeah. Is the water that became a river
yeah, we were talking about that one is
from the mouth of the serpent
in
the book of
Hasson.
Revelation,
Yeah.
chapter 12.
Yeah, that is saying that. Yeah.
And somehow I do believe it's so connected to everything that's going on today that even when we connect spiritually, understand the symbols over here with the real meaning, the real spiritual meaning, we can understand that this was not only a physical battle, was also a spiritual one. And this is exactly what's happening today. And again, we can connect with the book of Daniel once again. Because when Daniel was receiving the answer to his prayers, and Gabriel came to him, he was saying that he was fighting
Yeah,
with the prince of
the
Persia.
Mm.
And he needed to come back because the head or the prince of Greece was coming next.
Yeah.
What it means is that there are spiritual forces
In the
leading
air, and they're in
on
battle.
the earth and leading those big empires. So there should not be doubt in our hearts that what's happening in this world today is, again, those are the spiritual forces that are leading all these fights, all these struggles that we see happening in the world, and that's why somehow connected to the water. Okay. Now, what else we can add here? All of them are the descendants of Ham.
Yeah.
And I think this is also, if we look at it with spiritual eyes, it's also important because from Ham came all the giants after the flood. And we know what was the decision from Elohim regarding the giants, that they were become evil spirits. So the fact that this is pointing out to the descendant of Ham, for me, is also an indication that somehow are connected to battle in the spiritual. What else we can say about this? For this is the day of the Master YaHuWaH, a day of vengeance, to revenge himself on his adversaries. And the sword shall devour and be satisfied and made drunk with their flood. And what's the sword? You know, if this is somehow connected to the end times prophecy, we know that when Yahushua is coming, a sword is coming out of his mouth. And with that one, he is going to punish the nations that are not following the truth, and actually those ones that are destroying the earth. So I have no clarity how this is going to somehow be fulfilled in the end times, because it could be connected to the end times for sure. But I think the symbolism that we see here in this prophecy against the army of Mizraim somehow is connected to everything we are seeing happening today. The fights between the two superpowers and the consequences of the change on the landscape, political and let's say political landscape of what happened back then. Anything you want to add?
Maybe my perspective, that is not.
Sure, I think it's a good perspective. Go ahead. I was speaking about spiritual, now you're going to speak about spiritual. Go ahead.
Yeah, that when I always I'm always thinking about Mizraim, I'm always thinking about being a slave. And I remember that Yahushua was saying that, and it was Paul who was saying that if we are going to be sinning in this life, we are going to be a slave of sin, and that is going to take us to confront death at the end. So if you take that as an example, being Mizraim is the sin inside of us. So every time that sin wants to do something, is like bringing a battle, an internal battle in our spirit. And what called my attention related the names, it was saying that Cush, Put, and Lut. Cush is dark, so I was thinking from the dark side that we could have inside of us, and Put is the bow, and Lat is the strife. So usually those are characteristic of the bad side of this battle that we have inside. And who is going to overcome that fight? We are going to do it with the help of Yahushua. At the moment that we allow him to do and to use his sword in our life, he's going to destroy all that kind of empire in our lives. And for sure, he's saying, I'm going to do it. And I remember about the prophecy that was made at the very beginning with Adam and Eve, when to Hawa it was said that from her was coming the one who is going to put his foot over the snake. So he was going to destroy that. So that is what we have to be facing. We have to be facing maybe somehow when it says that they're going to stumble, they're going to fall, maybe it's something that is still there, but we have to do that fight with the help of Yahushua, to ask him to remove everything from our lives. So until the moment that we are ready, so he can take the good stuff and really eliminate everything. Because sometimes maybe we think that, okay, no, I'm perfect, I believe, I'm living according to to every step, but maybe that kind of when it says strive, sometimes we don't realize that it's only a little thing that we could have inside, maybe how do you say, rage, something that could start a fire, start something big. So we have to ask him to remove everything completely, and that is what we are living today. That is what we are seeing in the whole society. And when it says that some people are arriving to this place, is after a very big battle, when they have this identity crisis, everything that is bringing to this point is because we have already have some battles, but we still have more battles because we are still not there. We are still not ready. We have to be ready for the final battle. That is going to be the big one. The big one.
And I think you can continue with what you had said, considering what's coming in the next verse, because the word is again in the verse 13 for Mizraim, but the first one was the external battle that Babylon was fighting with Mizraim, but then Babylon is going inside the land.
And also that's why Babel, Babel meaning confusion,
Uh-huh.
is when you are maybe some kind of confused, and when you're still, I don't know, dealing with this two big powers.
Yes.
But now, if Babel is going to be inside, that is Yahushua, but inside of us. So then we are giving him a different position, a different power, because we are collaborating in that. We are allowing him to do all the battle.
Okay, so let's continue.
Yeah. The word which YaHuWaH spoke to Yirmiyahu the prophet about the coming of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, to strike the land of Mizraim, declaring Mizraim, and let it be heard in Migdol, and that is mean tower, and let it be heard in Nof and in Tapanhes, say, stand fast and be prepared, for a sword shall devour all around you. Why were you strong ones swept away? They did not stand, because YaHuWaH dropped them away. So it's like you didn't do it. It was YaHuWaH with his sword.
Yeah.
He made many stumble. Indeed, they fell over each other and say, arise, let us go back to our own people and to the land of our birth, away from the oppressing sword. There they cried, Pharaoh, sovereign of Mizraim, is but a noise. He has let the appointed time pass by. Is this also? Or no?
Yeah, why not? Yes.
As I live, declares the sovereign, whose name is YaHuWaH of hosts, for as Tabor is among the mountains, and as Carmel by the sea, he shall come.
Anything you want to say before I continue?
It was something that, give me a second, yeah. He made us stumble, they cried Pharaoh's son. When we were talking about that, some people wanted to go back because they were fearing about the oppressing sword. And because they were fearing this process, and they were running away from this process, they were coming back again to sin. They were coming back again to a worse state. So, and sometimes when we think about Mizraim was the one who was given, remember we were talking about this, that Mizraim was given the place for a lot of other cities and countries, because they were like if we can make a comparison right now, we can compare that to the United States, that you're receiving a lot of for years you were receiving people from different immigrants from other countries. And what happened that usually immigrants, they do that because they don't want to face what they are facing in their own land. So they think that in their place, in another place, okay, they were going to have a better life, maybe an easier one.
You know, it's exactly what we were reviewing and studying in the previous portion when the part of the remnant of Yehuda decided to go to Mizraim by their own wisdom. And because of their fear, they were escaping and running away and fleeing away from the Babylon. Because they believed that they were going to be protected by Mizraim, because they put all their trust in Mizraim. But if we remember that what was the answer from YaHuWaH through Yirmiyahu, somehow it's exactly what we see here in this prophecy. Somehow the fulfillment of what was is going to happen is that the sword and the pestilence was coming to them, because instead of obeying the voice of YaHuWaH, they decided to obey their own voice, their own wisdom. And the sword and the pestilence they were fearing was going to be they were going to encounter them in the land of Mizraim. And so this is exactly what's happening. And I think it was the message is that when YaHuWaH has decided to do something, he will do it.
Yeah.
No matter what we want to do, no matter our fears, no matter our expectation, no matter our desires, if he has said that something will happen, he will do it. So it's up to us to decide if we are going to align to his will and desire, or if we are going to align ourselves to our desire. As you were speaking at the beginning, a father will know better what's better for his son. And sometimes when we are teenagers,
we think that
we think that we know. But in reality, the one who knows is him. And that's why we need to surrender ourselves. Because if not, bad things will happen. If we follow his instruction, good things will happen. But if we don't follow his instruction, sword pestilence will happen. And you know what they're saying at the end in the verse 17? They're the people that decided to go there, the immigrants that decided to go there and put their trust in a man, to put their trust in an empire, to put the trust in a system, a government. They will cry out, Pharaoh, sovereign Mizraim is but a noise.
Yeah, so nothing left.
It's
from
nothing.
That.
They are saying it's nothing.
But they realized that he was appointed somehow. He was an instrument. He was something that YaHuWaH was putting there for a reason.
Yes.
So it was, everybody has a role here in the plan of YaHuWaH.
So it continues in the verse 19. O you daughter dwelling in Mizraim, prepare yourself to go into exile. For Noph shall become a waste and a ruin, and be burned without inhabitant. Mizraim is like a very pretty heifer, but destruction comes from the north. Her hired ones too, in her midst, are like fattened calves, for they too shall turn. They shall flee away together. They shall not stand, for the day of their calamity has come upon them, the time of their punishment. Its sound moves along like a serpent, for they move on like an army, and come against her with axes, like wood cutters. They shall cut down her forest, declares YaHuWaH, but it is not searched, because they are more numerous than locusts, and without number. It's talking about the army of the enemy.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason it's talking about the trees and wood cutters, it could be understood as removing people. We are compared throughout the scriptures like trees. So they shall cut down her forest. They are removing their people. And actually, they are coming as a big army to remove. And that's why, he's saying before, they're always going into exile. And I remember we discussed about this in the past. That was the part of the battle strategy they were using, the Assyrians. And somehow the Babylonians continue doing the same. You remember we discussed that the Assyrian and the Babylonians, somehow they were well connected. In the ways they were operating, in the way they were ruling, and somehow. And why we went back even to connect
They were family.
to Nimrod, because he was the one establishing Babel and also Nineveh. And Nineveh was the capital of the Assyrian kingdom. So they were connected. So they were doing all these exiles, and actually that's why he's saying, prepare yourself to go into exile. They were removing the people from the original people from there, and not only the immigrants that they were living in the land. The reason, it's also interesting that it's comparing the way they are moving like a serpent. And why? Because even though YaHuWaH was using Nebuchadnezzar as a servant in the same way that he was using Koresh as a servant, somehow both of them were connected to the system of the beast. And this is so interesting because somehow it's showing to us that Yahweh is always in control. He's allowing the system of the beast and these principalities and these big empires to happen throughout history, but even he's using part of it in order to bring his word to fulfillment. Koresh and Nebuchadnezzar are very good examples to use it for his purposes. Okay, but even though that is connected to the moving like a serpent, somehow it shows us that this is connected to the system of the dragon, the system of the beast. Okay. So the daughter of Mizraim, in the 24, shall be put to shame. She shall be given into the hand of the people of the north. YaHuWaH Sebaot, the Elohim of Israel, has said, see, I am bringing punishment on Ammon of No, and on Pharaoh, and on Mizraim, and on their mighty ones, and on their sovereigns, and on Pharaoh, and on those trusting in him. And I shall give them into the hand of those who seek their lives, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and into the hand of his servants. And afterward it shall be inhabited as in the days of old, declares YaHuWaH. But as for you, do not fear, O my servant Yaakov, and do not be discouraged, O Israel. For look, I am saving you from afar, and your descendants from the land of their captivity. And Yaakov shall return, and shall have rest and be at ease, with no one disturbing. Do not fear, O Yaakov, my servant, declares YaHuWaH, for I am with you, though I make a complete end of all the nations to which I have driven you, yet I do not make a complete end of you. But I shall reprove you in right ruling, and by no means leave you unpunished. Something you want to add?
Well, call my attention when always he's talking like a kind of instruction or a message to Yaakov and something also to Israel. Like he's talking to two different group of people, even though we knew that they're going to become the same, but it's in the different stage that they are. Yaakov, we know that is before he has this encounter with YaHuWaH when he changed his name. So it's like when he knew about him, but in a more distant way. And being Israel, it should be like how YaHuWaH wants us to be. So, but anyhow, to the two groups, he's telling them, don't be afraid. Even though you're going to suffer, even though you're going to be receiving some stuff, but you're not going to be deleted, cut off. So I'm going to keep a remnant, and from there I'm going to bring you.
Yeah, I think he preserved the seed somehow
Yeah.
throughout generations, and that's beautiful because it's part of the promises. It's written here. It's written everywhere else in his word. The preservation of the seed because he has a plan, and the plan is the kingdom and the people for that kingdom, in order to bring righteousness here on the earth. You know, we can have several speculation, and I'm wondering. I don't have the answer, but I'm wondering. Because it says that and connecting in the battle strategies of Babylon, the Babylonians and the Syrians, it says that you go into exile to the Egyptians. Could it be that they remove completely the people from the land? That's one question. And again, I don't have the answers. Just it's part of the speculation we can have regarding the prophecy, and also connecting this to history. So the verse 1, could maybe they remove the people from Israel from that place? And second, did they come back to their land? And the third question is that the people living in the land today are really descendants from Israel, or could be
Already the result of the mixture and the people who were from outside.
correct. We don't know the answers, because it's interesting. We know that the house of Yehuda returned, and it's a promise that the house of Israel will return. But what happened with those people that were removed? Maybe they're mixed themselves also with the nations. But did they come back? And why I'm saying this? Because you know what caught my attention while reading part of the history is what I told you. It's about the Ottoman Empire, and it could be that this is also somehow connected to what happened then in understanding the prophecy cyclical. The Ottoman Empire was the one defeating the Roman Empire. And we know the Roman Empire reached to Egypt. And the Ottoman Empire was the one taking control over the Egypt back then. And they reached and they had dominion. And I think the Ottoman Empire somehow is part of the prophecies as well, from my point of view. And why I'm bringing this, because somehow this is what we are facing today. The Ottoman Empire is connected to Islam. Because Islam came before, and they were the caliphate. And we know that one of the things that is being happening in the spiritual and also in the physical is about this clash of cultures, especially with Muslim and Islam being overspread over the entire world. And one of the areas of the world that is facing and suffering this the most is Europe, and was what we were talking last night as well. So could it be that this somehow is connected to the army moving like a serpent? Again, and just we can speculate a lot, but the only one who can guide us in the truth is the Ruach of Elohim, and it's good to ask those questions, because every time that we are asking, the Ruach will guide us, maybe in
to see something
in the answers and in the truth, because once again, fulfillment can happen more than once. And could it be that maybe what we are seeing happening today could be connected to this prophecy too? Okay, the good things and the focus that we need to have, and this is so beautifully connected to everything we shared at the beginning of this study, is about the message that YaHuWaH is bringing to His servant. If we are truly His servant, the servant of Elohim, do not fear. And also, what you highlighted earlier, do not be discouraged, because those are two different things.
The two different states.
Discouraged is when we see that things that are according to our expectation are not happening, and we can feel ourselves discouraged. Or discouraged could be is that maybe we have no expectation, but we see things going in a just bad things happening.
Mm.
And what we need to do is just to cleanse ourselves
Mm.
inside of any expectation and any desire, is to let it go
Mm. Yeah.
and to allow the will of YaHuWaH to be in our hearts.
Mm.
If we do that, we know what are the promises. I am saving you from afar,
Mm.
and your descendants from the land of their captivity.
Mm.
It says, though, and this is a beautiful promise, and somehow it's connected to what something I said in the prophecy update. You know, what's going to happen in the world is going to happen everywhere,
Mm.
no matter where we are. If the Ruach of Elohim is guiding us to go somewhere else, we need to be obedient and we need to do it. If he's guiding us to move, to stay, we need to stay. If he's guiding us to move and to change location, we need to do it. We need to follow the guidance of the Ruach of Elohim within us, asking always for confirmation. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, he will establish the truth and the word. But we need to remind ourselves is that what's coming, it will happen and will cover the entire world. This final empire will cover the entire world, and now there is the means, the technology, the people mindset in order to become a reality. So, and we somehow face and we taste a bit of it 4 years ago. The same policies were implemented everywhere. Maybe in some places were more restrictive, in the other ones not that much, but at the end it was exactly the same policies. Everything being controlled in a centralized way. What's coming is going to be even worse, because they're going to be really implementing this global governance. And everything, is out there. If you have not read about, and I know that I'm deviating from the topic, but I think it's important to mention, there are certain discussions already about a new, how to say that, a new plague that could come to the world. And at the end of 2020, there were some exercises like the one that happened back on 2019, being led by a known university in the United States. There was a new kind of a game of testing of what should be the
behavior. Yeah, you're keeping.
I'm trying to find the words and not to say not to be so direct,
so obvious.
and so obvious. To exercise what should do in case of a new plague should hit the world. And what I'm basically, this is not disconnected at all. And this is something that is being coordinated. It's something that we should expect that will happen. And as I said before, we taste a bit of what it means, this global governance. So we know what's coming. And again, just to come back to the point, it doesn't matter where we are, it's going to happen everywhere. But the message is clear. Do not fear Yaakov. Do not fear my children. Do not fear my servant. Because even though that the entire world is being destroyed, he has made a promise. Wow. Almost 4,000 years ago, he made a promise to Abraham. Because he said, I'm the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And he made a promise to those 3 generations that his seed, it was going to be like the stars. And we know the Mashiach came through that seed. And we know that we are children of Abraham through YaHuWaH. We don't know if we have the DNA. This is something that maybe we will know in the future. But at this point, it doesn't matter. Because he has been calling us out of the world, and he has adopted us as his children. So even though that we see the world falling apart, as he's saying here, I do not make a complete end of you. And that's the promise, and that's the expectation we need to grasp and to hold fast, Because if we hold fast to that expectation and we endure until the end, as YaHuWaH was speaking about, even though that we see, maybe it's going to be inevitable to feel fear. And that's why he's comforting his children, saying, do not fear, because they are totally afraid. It is, if we're facing a destruction or some accident, we are going to be totally afraid about what's going on. If we are facing a war scenario, we are going to be totally afraid. But he's reminding us in our spirit, these words, do not fear. Because even though that everything that you are seeing now is going to get destroyed, I'm not going to destroy you because you are mine. But it's also coming with a warning.
Yeah.
We have done something wrong. He is going to apply right ruling, and that's the right thing to do. So that's why we need to be repentant. Anything else you want to add? No? So let's go to 47. That is a shorter one. So now is the time for the Philistines. The word of YaHuWaH that came to Yirmiyahu the prophet concerning the Philistines before Pharaoh struck Asa, that is Gaza. Okay? Thus said YaHuWaH, see, waters are rising out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and they shall overflow the land and all that is in it, the city and those who dwell within. And men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall wail, at the noise of the stamping hoofs of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, at the rumbling of his wheels. The fathers shall not look to their children, because of weakness of hands, because of the day that shall come to ravage all the Philistines, to cut off from Sor and Sidon every helper that survives. For YaHuWaH is ravaging the Philistines, the remnant of the isle of Kaftor. Baldness shall come upon Asa. Ashkelon shall be cut off with the remnant of their valley. Till when would you cut yourself? O you sword of YaHuWaH, how long till you rest? Put yourself up into your sheath. Rest and be still. How shall it rest when YaHuWaH has given it a command? Against Ashkelon and against the seashore, there he has appointed it. And something you want to say? No? Nothing.
Oh, I'm always thinking about when it says
I saw you with this in your eyes, so you wanted to say something, that's why.
No. I'm always thinking about this, like the internal battle about the thoughts and things like that. Yeah. And how everything is going to be handled by YaHuWaH.
Yes. For me, this chapter is very relevant because of what's been happening since 2023. October 7, 2023. You know that the place is completely demolished. It's talking about the seashore, it's talking about Asa, it's talking about, armies coming to destroy in the same way that they were going to destroy Mizraim. But it's specifically talking about Gaza. And if we take a look in what's happening in that place, it's totally demolished.
Yeah.
I have a new prophecy update, and it's already recorded. I need to edit it. That is somehow connected to that place. And I think more things are coming. Things that have been announced since 2017, 16 somehow. And they have been moving on in those plans of control. And somehow, again, YaHuWaH is in control and he's allowing these things to happen. And we see a clear description here. You remember what I'm talking about, right? About this prophecy update? No, you don't remember.
Yeah, no, I know. I see.
So we're going to keep all of them in suspense for wait for that video. But take a look in this. See, waters are rising out of the north. Even though that is talking about the army, It's interesting to connect with waters of everything that
Yeah.
we were taking a look earlier.
Mm.
And shall be an overflowing flood,
Mm.
and they shall overflow the land and all that is in it. But again, I think this is not coincidence,
Mm.
and we are seeing it with our eyes.
Mm.
We will see what's coming in the next chapters. I think the description that's coming for the next nations somehow is so connected to what we see happening in our days today. But we will keep that for later. And again, who is in control and doing and allowing this to happen is YaHuWaH, His word.
Mm.
Is His word. What is written in the book of Tehillim is that sit at my right hand
Mm.
until I put all your enemies
Yeah, and there you put.
at your foot. And this, I think, is what's exactly what is being described here, and what we see happening in this world today.
Mm.
That's why, there are multiple forces, and later is going to be converging into one big force.
Mm.
And that's why when we see the dream of Nebuchadnezzar about this big statue with the different metals, it's just one big statue representing all the empires.
Because they have to be united
Somehow are connected. They are going to be united, as I was speaking in the We Are Not of the World
Mm.
many years ago. But the rock that is coming from heaven, that has not been cut with hands, is coming to destroy the big one, not individually. And he's going to defeat the last manifestation of this big empire and forces, and to pulverize it completely. So somehow everything is converging now to one global system. So the destruction of the global system is going to be much easier. And who is going to destroy it is YaHuWaH with the same sword that is speaking about in this chapter. That's why, it's so interesting to see how it's ending. How shall it rest when YaHuWaH has given it a command? He has said that it's happened and it will be fulfilled.
Yes.
Good. Something else?
No.
No? Sure.
Say, no.
You have spoken little today.
I was listening. I was
Given all
listening.
the work to me
Yeah,
to be
that's
done.
good.
That's not fair. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
So you are going to close today. So since I was speaking so much, you are going to close. But you should share something before. I don't know.
But I already shared.
Sure.
everything,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just kidding. Kidding.
So just I don't know, that we can be strong, and as it was saying, or we are Jacob or we are Israel. So we don't have to fear. We don't have to feel discouraged at all. So continue praying, continue under the protection and looking for that protection that Abba is always pouring over us when we look for that. So
Good. So I think connecting everything we have been saying, I'm going to just compliment what you said.
okay.
We need to continue praying, praying at all times. We need to continue reminding ourselves about this spiritual battle, and to keep the side of the kingdom of YaHuWaH and not the side of the system of this world. Even though that we need to continue living in our day-to-day activities, but in our spirit, in our mind, we need to remember that we are citizens of the kingdom, and we need to look with the eyes of the citizens of the kingdom. We are kind of spies, So we need to remember ourselves that even though that we are in a different land, we are spies of the kingdom, just to understand what's going on and to warn people. But our allegiance is to YaHuWaH, the Messiah, and to the true Elohim, that is YaHuWaH. And we have the mighty power of YaHuWaH Elohim, because it is written, it's not by might, not by power, but by the Ruach of Elohim, who is in us. So nothing to fear. It's just to trust in Him and to allow Him to guide us in all truth. Having said that, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much for joining us, for taking the time to spend Shabbat with us. And it's a blessing to us always. We love you with all our hearts. And we hope to see you next one. Is that the will of YaHuWaH? The next Shabbat, with the continuation on the next portion in the book of Jeremiah. That is, we are missing just a little to finish. And if His will is to continue, we will continue with the next
prophet.
The next prophet. That is going to be an interesting one too, Ezekiel.
Ezekiel.
Good, but we need to wait for that.
Yeah.
So once again, YaHuWaH be with you all. Shabbat Shalom, and see you next week.
Shabbat
Bye-bye.
Shalom. Bye.
Every tribe, every tongue, Emmanuel, your King shall come. End of sorrows, end of pain, come and praise Creator's name. Speak to the land, O man of war, to every island, distant shore. All God's people say amen. Raise a shout, He's come again. Terror shall return to them, to the ones who harm the innocent. They better lay down their sword, for the battle is not man's. It belongs to the Lord.